recording. I wasn't recording. I used the Rare Beauty Brow Harmony Dual Brows for my brows, and then I went ahead and set my primer, which is Benefit Cosmetics, the hydrating primer with some translucent powder. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and dive in. I'm gonna be using the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation for my face. And you don't need too much of this. I am going out today, so I like to use this foundation for mass proof makeup. So I haven't really watched too many other stories, you know, like girls who have described their domestic abuse journey, because I didn't want any like outside influence as to how I would tell my story. And it's been a long time. It's been a very strenuous process. Sometimes you think you're healed or you're feeling all right with the situation, and then boom, emotions take you over again. You know, certain triggers or whatever. So outside of that, I just want to take you guys back on, just want to give you guys a backstory and let you know how things got as bad as they got, and how I got out of it, how I got out of the situation, and how I basically got my groove back. And at no point in this am I looking for any type of like a sympathy card. If I was looking for a sympathy card or anything like that, I would have talked about this ages ago. I kind of wanted to sweep it underneath the rug and just try to find my success with YouTube. But something in me just, I know that there's other women going through this, and I would like to share my story because I know that other women's stories have really helped and inspired me. And y'all are gonna give the lace. We're gonna get her together later, but right now we're gonna get into my backstory on the abusive relationship. All right, so taking this Benefit concealer, this is the Benefit number 9 Boing Concealer. So you guys, my kid's father was the said party in the domestic abuse relationship. And I'm not going to out him for his name or anything. People who know me know, because they were there and they witnessed, they saw the abuse, they saw the neglect of my family, and they just know that I've always, like, it's always been a toxic relationship. First of all, I met him when I was 16 years old at my first job, and I was 16 and he was 21. That was a red flag right there. I always felt that I could never identify with high school boys because I grew up quick. My mom had breast cancer twice when I was a kid, when I was 9 and 11. So, you know, seeing her go through all that, taking care of her, giving her medicine, going to her radiation appointments, it was a lot to process, and I never felt like anybody ever got me. And I just always had, you know, a crush on the older people because it was something that I could relate to, not worrying about little, you know, high school crushes or whatever. So immediately I was drawn to him. Also the fact that he had a kid, and I just thought that that was so cute. I don't know, clearly having my own daddy issues going on there. Anyways, he was just so cute, and we started it on the same day. And like when I first saw him, I saw a light, like I'd known him in another life or something. I'd never had that happen with anyone, like a light shined behind him. And it wasn't from the restaurant, it was just like, I don't know, it was like, this is your person, basically. And yeah, so we just flirted, and you know, he tried to pull back because I was 16 and he was 21 and he has a dad and all that, and I was never like super fast or like pressuring him to do anything. We just vibed, you know. He listened to me, and he never put any pressure on me. Wasn't giving no creep vibes or anything. It was just like an older friend who happened to be cute. And you know, we used to hang out after work sometimes, and we just became close. And one time I snuck out of the house because I had a super strict upbringing, and there was a party or something he wanted me to go to, and I lied and said that my mom was okay with it, and he came to pick me up, and then we just ended up kicking it. And then my parents found out that I was talking to him, and then they found out that he was white, and then my parents found out that I was talking to him, being fast, basically. Not even being fast, like I wasn't being fast. I really was just looking for someone to relate to. I was very isolated at that time. I didn't have anyone who could really relate to me. My family was going through like financial hardships due to my mom's you know, old medical bills and stuff. Like it was a hard time, and for me to have someone to relate to me, just to talk to me, who didn't care about the kind of clothes that I had on, you know, because that's why I got a job, because the baby was broke. and I couldn't get the stuff. My mom didn't want, but I was emo first of all, and then my mom never liked the clothes that I wore, so she wasn't gonna buy them for me. So I went out and got my own job so I could buy my own Vans and Airwalks and, you know, be emo. So, you know, just having someone to talk to and relate to was very nice. And, you know, they made me quit because they're like, we can't trust you, you're sneaking out of the house, this guy's 21. I totally understand it, I totally get it now, but I really died back then and sunk into a very deep depression. Long story short, after we got broken up from that time period, eventually the time came around where we started hanging out again, we were partying, all that, and then we just decided to be back into a relationship. I was an adult, and you know, we were old friends, and you know, we just decided this time that we're going to be in a relationship, we're going to commit to each other and just be in a relationship. You know, I was grown, and I had my stuff together, and I just decided to be back with him, and I ended up moving out of my mom's house and moving into the apartment with him. We eventually went on to get our own apartment when I was pregnant with my daughter. So red flags were going on for years. Like when I first moved out into his apartment, we had a roommate, and you know, when we got into an argument one time, he poured orange soda on me when I was 19, and at that time I like tried to, you know, brush it off and just was like, you know, he was drunk, you know, this isn't that, it was a disagreement, I don't want to go back to my mom's house, I'm on this lease, I have to make it work, you know, he apologized, like brushing it off. But that was the very, very first time. Looking back now, that was the biggest red flag that I ignored, as I was basically a child wildly in love, and I didn't tell anybody about it. And so we stay there, and then we eventually ended up moving from there, and then we got another house, and we had roommates still because I didn't have any kids at this point. I was just young and just living. We liked to party, we liked to be around people, so we moved to another house, and that's where I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter. We were trying for Layla, we were trying for her, and she was made from love. But like shortly after that, after we moved to an apartment, we got a nice house, we got a nice townhouse. We were both working at the same job that we had, and we were really trying to build a family, and things were going good until we got kicked out of that place due to him having altercations with the police. And you know, he just had a criminal background, and I always thought that that was cool, not knowing that that's definitely a red flag as well, that you don't want to be with someone who has multiple felonies. That's not cute. It's not going to look good on a resume. It's not going to end well. You know, he was into the streets, and I just thought the street life was cool. Like, I really did. And so then we ended up moving out of there, and then we moved to this really nice house on the river. And all of these times, like after he poured the pop on me, he didn't do anything to me for a very long time. But then after that, it was always just heated arguments. He would always put me down in the worst ways. And me being the person that I am, processing all of the traumatic experience I had already been in, I just kind of figure like this comes with the territory. If somebody loves you, like they do talk to you crazy. I grew up with an extremely verbally abusive stepfather, so this is all that I had seen. I kind of, you know, subconsciously just thought it was normal, and just to forgive the person and make it work, because that's what I had been presented in my life, and you know, that's just what I'd seen. So long story short, just heated arguments. Never found him any evidence of him cheating or anything. There were some suspicions, you know, going through his phone and stuff, but you know, him doing the street life and doing whatever he was doing, I kind of just chalked it up as it came with the territory, and always tried to see the good in him, because you know, I thought we were trying to raise this beautiful baby and have a family. So it was always that, you know, I was dumb, I was a baby, that I was a little girl, that I didn't understand life, that I should go back to my mom's house. Just extremely verbally abusive. He didn't really start to get physically abusive until I was pregnant with my son Jackson. And I think this is around the time that he started to do drugs. So I was about 6 months pregnant with my son Jackson, and I was begging him not to leave. He said that he had to go somewhere with his friends and, you know, handle some business, blah 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 blah. And I had just came off of a 10-hour shift at the hotel. me. I don't think that I've ever talked about this with anyone. It's crazy. Like, why am I crying? So yeah, I just came off of my like 10-hour shift at the hotel. So I left the old job that my kids are only 13 months apart. So from the time that we moved to that nice little townhouse that had upstairs, downstairs, really nice place, I was pregnant with my son again. They're only 13 months apart. So we stayed there, but we ended up getting kicked out of the city because of him having issues with the police and security guards and just doing illegal stuff. And this scar, I don't know if you can see, this scar right there came from a security guard at the apartments that were by our house that he kept trespassing in. They threw a water bottle at me and it hit me in my head when I was pregnant with my son. This is when it all started to get bad, when I was all like really, really bad. It had already been bad. Like, knowing now, there's so many red flags, so much bad stuff that I put up with because I didn't know any better. I literally didn't know any better. I wasn't telling anybody. I told my sister, and then my sister stopped talking to me because she thought that he was abusive, and I just told her not to tell anybody, and then she just ended up talking to me, and she hasn't talked to me since. So I wasn't telling anybody, really. My sister never liked him. She always saw the red flags back when I was 19. She always saw that he was disrespectful to her. He didn't care. He had like really bad red flags, and she never liked him. She never did. And she always said that I could do better, and I just never listened. At the time, he was unemployed because we couldn't afford literally to pay for childcare and to be working. It was unrealistic to have both of us working. So he was a stay-at-home dad. And he had his own like repair service, and he was just doing that. And I thought he was just doing that, and then he was taking care of our daughter. So I took a position, whatever. He ended up getting one of my cars repoed because he was driving without a license and taking it. So I ended up having to like take a cab every day to work. Some days I would be late because trying to get around in the snow, the taxi cabs couldn't come, so it was a very long time for them to even get to me, and I was like, late. Anyways, they still took me back after maternity leave because I was really good at my job. Anyways, I'm about 6 months pregnant, coming off of a 10-hour workday, and I'm just begging him. I'm like, please stay with me. I don't want to be alone. I want to be with you. I'm not feeling so good, blah, blah, blah. Can you rub my back? Can you just be there for me as my kid's dad? And he's so pissed that I'm begging him to stay with me. He's so pissed that I'm begging him to stay with me that he pushes me. He pushed me when I was 6 months pregnant with my son. And till this day, I don't think I've ever told anybody that. I've held that inside for a long time. And my son did have birth defects. He had plagiocephaly and torticollis, meaning when I got pushed, that my son shifted in my stomach and he started growing larger on one side and had a strained neck, and then the back of his head was flat, and we had to take him to physical therapy and get him a head. Well, I said that there was something wrong with him, and he said there was nothing wrong with him. So I took him to Children's, and there was definitely something wrong with him. And you would expect for someone to feel some sort of guilt, but I don't think he ever did. He knows what he did. He's just a very evil person. So anyways, that's what happened. I got pushed, and shortly after that, he ended up going to jail. So after that, I still didn't tell anyone. At this point, I'm just depressed. I'm so depressed. He didn't come back for a couple days after that. I didn't tell anybody. I was having people at work were noticing, like what was going on. My home life wasn't stable. I'm mentally stressed. I'm always calling and being late to work because he got my car repoed, so I always had to take a cab to work. Sometimes they would show up too late. I'm distraught, not happy about being able, about to have my son. I didn't know that it was my son. I didn't even figure out what he was because I wanted it to be a surprise. Jackson was a surprise anyways. Like, we planned for Layla, but then Jackson was a surprise. He really was. But nonetheless, he was made from love, I suppose. And then things started going really, really, really left. He went to jail. So we had just had Jackson. So yeah, I ended up taking him back after he pushed me still, because I was pregnant with this baby. I didn't want to have the baby by myself. You know what I mean? Like, I had the baby. I didn't want to be by myself raising the baby, and you know, he was a good dad to Layla. He would never take anything out on Layla. She looked exactly like him. He loved the kids. It's just he was really abusive to me, and I think he didn't want to be with me, but he didn't really know how to break away. So he chose to be verbally and physically abusive, and it was a cluster of things, because he, in the midst of all that, he did teach me a lot, not only about like the world, but about myself. So after we got kicked out of that place, eventually after having Jackson, we moved to this one place on the river. There's a river in the backyard. It was very nice, and things were going okay for a minute. But then he would always have people over my house not respecting me. That's a form of abuse. If someone is not respecting your wishes, not saying like, oh, everything that you say has to go. But if somebody's asking you, I don't want company tonight, my kids have kept me up, I've been at work, I don't want company, but they disrespect you, that's a disrespect, and that's another red flag. Las Vegas, and I didn't have the greatest credit at the time. I was still a baby in my head, seriously. Like, I had a really good job, but I didn't know that I was supposed to open credit cards. I didn't have any type of like mentor guidance. My mom and I were always on and off, so I didn't really have like a strong relationship with her either. So I kind of was just like out there by myself, and I just felt like if I stuck with him, he would help at least with half of the bills. But it was never that serious to where I needed to, you know, break away. I always felt like I could just make it work, basically, and just take the pain, because I never wanted my kids to grow up without a father figure. Fast forward to the place that we moved after I had Jackson. Everything was going good. He had a really good job. I ended up having to stay home this time because we couldn't afford childcare for 2 kids, and we were making too much to qualify for state assistance. So I was a stay-at-home mom again, and he was basically the breadwinner. That's when I started picking up makeup. This is around 2014. I started picking up makeup and doing people's makeup, and I was just doing that as a side hustle at the house, so I didn't have to leave with the kids. And that's when he started doing everything. I never found concrete like evidence that he was cheating on me, but I know that he was. Like, some days he would never even come home. So it's like, I know if he was miserable, he should have just left instead of putting me through hell and high water and lying. But you can't get the genuinity out of some people. So, and he probably didn't want to be in child support. So he ended up going back to jail again at this new house. He was arguing with the landlord. The landlord didn't like him, and the landlord didn't want to deal with him. She was like, you can stay here with the 2 kids and he can leave. But at that time, I wasn't in the position to pay for anything because I was a stay-at-home mom. So we ended up having to move again. This time, we moved in December of 2014 or 2015, and he went to jail 2 days later. He went to jail 2 days later, and that was the first time I ever got harassed by Minneapolis Police Department, the people who killed George Floyd. Ridiculous officers. That's like the only time I've ever been harassed by police officers in Minnesota. They are a disgusting police precinct. Like, seriously disgusting. I can see why the crime was committed, because they really have evil in their hearts. They really do. So when all that George Floyd stuff happened, I was not surprised. I was not surprised at all. Anyways, I don't want to get off subject. So he ended up going to jail again, y'all. And we had been at that house, I would say, for like, we were there for 2 years. And so yeah, and then he went to jail again, and this time he went to jail for like 9 months. So I moved out of that house because it was in a bad part of town. The only reason we moved in over North Minneapolis was because it was a cheaper place. It was a big house. It was like 3 bedrooms, a basement, a front and backyard. It was really nice. It was just in the ghetto. And then there was like mice and stuff in there, and I didn't know how to take care of it, and the landlord was neglecting me. So it started like getting more and more mice, and it was really a hellhole. Like, I've literally seen mice, like a hell of mice, and I had nothing to do with it. My house was clean. It was just an infested house. So I got the hell out of there and went back to my mom's house again. And this time I really started to open my eyes. That is when I started to open my eyes, when I was about 25. I started hanging out with this girl. And Kaylee really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Kaylee was a college grad. She had a really good relationship with her family, and she was just bubbly, and she just the life of the party. And she just started showing me things that you're supposed to look for in men. Like, men are supposed to take you out for dinner. They're not supposed to talk to you crazy. Men will provide without the BS. And once I started seeing a different type of man, my eyes started to open, and that's when a whole part of my life came up that I'll probably touch on later on. But in that time that he went to jail for that last time, after leaving me there in that mouse infested house, I really started to open up my eyes, and I just started telling my mom what was happening. And even though we weren't, we have an odd relationship, because we're both Aries, so her being a battered woman, she was like, you gotta take all the red flags, you gotta get the hell out of there. She's like, you've been trying. Now this time it was like 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're at 7 years, 7.5 years. She was like, you've been giving him your best. You've been giving you your best. If he comes out this time and messes up, you leave. Because you've been giving him. She's like, he's been back and forth, inconsistent, in jail, not doing right, getting your cars taken. She was like, yes, he's a good dad to the kids, but you're wasting your time here. If he can't show you this last time when he gets out of jail, you need to move on. And she hadn't liked him back in the day because he was older than me, but once she saw, that he was teaching me stuff and he was like a good dad, I wasn't telling him everything that was going on abusively. I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of kept it in. But then when I started telling her, she was like, you do what you got to do, but literally you're going to be stuck in this cycle for the rest of your life if you do not stop messing with him. He hasn't showed you anything. He keeps going back to jail. What are you supposed to do when you go back to jail? His family wasn't of any help, which really opened up my eyes as well. He kept going to jail. Every time he went to jail, his family would never reach out. All they ever cared about was giving my kids presents, Christmas presents, and they thought that I'm a bad person because their abusive son was abusing me and my kids and going back and forth to jail, but somehow that was my fault. I never told him to go to jail. I didn't tell him to do this and that. He'd been in and out of jail before I even met him. Anyways, so yeah, just seeing how the family just always took his side no matter what he did, even though they knew that he was always constantly messed up, just showed me like, damn, I really had a kid with this person. Like, you really have to double check, background check, be around people. And we were together for 2 years before I even had a kid. So like, you never know. Like, you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather, like, seriously. And like, that's why I feel like it happened to me. Alright, so the last time that they went to jail, he went for like 9 months. That whole time he was in jail, I'm partying, I'm kicking it with my friend Kaylee, I'm getting close to my friend Kaylin, you know what I mean? Like, figuring out who I am, actually for the first time being able to go out to a bar, actually for the first time being able to go out to a club and be in a section, actually being able to do something. I'd always been home with my kids. Like, I'd gone to a party bus once with him and my other friends, and I went to a bar like once after I turned 21 when I had my daughter. And other than that, I was always in the house. He would always have people over, so the party was always at our house. I never got to experience doing that. So at 25, I was like, you know what? I'm going out, Mom. I'm going out. And you know what? My mom watched my kids for me because she knew that I was a good woman. She knew that I was with this man, and he kept going back to jail. I'm worried about what me and the kids are going to be doing, so my mom, like, is a go for that. She allowed me to, like, spread my wings. She watched the kids for me. All I was telling her, like, I'm going out, Mom, and like, she's never. All right, my camera stopped, but yeah, so when I was 25, I just started going out, y'all. I was going out with my friends. I was staying with my mom. I'm really searching and trying to figure out who I am. Outside of the insults saying that I'm a little girl or I'm dumb or I don't have a support system, and just the verbal abuse every day, the emotional abuse, the psychological abuse, like just doing everything within your power to continue to, I'll take 2 steps forward, you take 2 steps back, you get us kicked out of a city, you get the car taken away, you're taking food out of my kid's mouth. It's just always a constant struggle. And at this time, I actually had some time, so I really appreciate my mom. Like, shout out to my mom. Like, we go back and forth, you know what I mean? But she was really, really there. I'm not about to freaking cry. Without my mom by my side, Without my mom by my side at that time, I don't know what I would have done. I really don't. I had just basically lost everything. I left everything at that mouse infested house because I wasn't gonna bring it. Like, what am I gonna do with that, you know? So I left everything over there, and I was like, I'm just gonna go home with it. I need my mom. I need my mom. I need a support system, you know? So I got to do that, and she really came in clutch. She let me spread my wings, you know, and she was just really there for me. And it was kind of like when I was there for her when she had cancer, it was one of the times I really, really needed her, and she just showed up without a question and helped me. So yeah, after that happened, me finding myself, me going out, I literally mentally decided after seeing a different aspect of what men could be, what my life could be, what I could accomplish, where I could go, what I could do with YouTube, you know? Like, I was like, if he messes up this time, I'm dead. So he gets out. I'm already kind of like, yeah, I know you're gonna mess up again. I kind of got him, you know, I'm hesitant to even, you know, be with him. But this time, everything's different. This time, everything was different. No verbal abuse, no physical, mental abuse. He stayed at my mom's house, and then we ended up getting this bomb house in northeast Minneapolis, which is one of the nicest places in Minneapolis. It's right by downtown. Such a beautiful neighborhood on University in Minneapolis. It had a white picket fence, a man cave. I had my makeup studio upstairs so I could take clients. We had a big yard. We were right by the river. I could walk the kids to the river. We would see the aquatennial in our backyard, like fireworks and stuff when that was happening. A bunch of wildlife. Beautiful, like my dream. Like, I was like, damn, my dream has finally come true. My man is acting right. I got a nice truck. Wait, we got 2 cars. I got my own makeup studio. I got my own beauty room. It's my favorite color. I got internet. I got cable. I'm really doing it. We're really doing it. And we were really doing it. Until I started to do drugs. Now, smoking weed is one thing. Now, I will never, you know, weed is legal here in Vegas and in a bunch of states. It's legalized. It's illegal in Minnesota. And it's like decriminalized, but you could still get in trouble for it. And he'd always smoked weed. It's, you know, he had always done that. I never knocked him or whatever. But when hard drugs start coming into play and you start having like drug addict friends in the man cave sleeping for days, locked so I can't get to my makeup studio because there's women in there that are naked, we're gonna have a little bit of a problem. And that's where shit start going real crazy. Excuse my language, but that's when shit started going real crazy. I just enrolled in Aveda because I'm like, well, I want to get my esthetician's license if I want to really pursue this makeup artistry thing, because I really thought that I was just going to be a makeup artist in Minnesota for my whole life. I was dabbling in and out of YouTube. I got my studio. I was like, yes, I can do YouTube. I had a little rinky-dink camera, and I was just trying. You know, I went to The Voice. We auditioned. We took a road trip to Chicago. Again, taking 2 steps forward to get knocked back 8. He trashed my makeup room. After coming down from drugs one night, I was supposed to do my friend Jenny McDaniel's makeup, and he ended up trashing my makeup room. And now Jenny hates me. Like, I understand it was her big day, but what can someone do if their makeup room is trashed by their kid's dad? It was literally trashed. Like, I took pictures. Like, I'm gonna try to insert some pictures. Like, I remember being locked in my makeup room, and my friend Marquela randomly came over to my house. My kid's dad broke my phone over and over and over and over. So I had no means to communicate with anyone. I couldn't call and talk to anyone. I didn't have a house phone. He broke my phone and would disappear for days at a time on his coke binge, leaving me and the kids. He stole $1,000 from me one time out of my purse and blamed it on the landlord. It was wild. It was absolutely out of control. Absolutely out of control. The landlord heard him say one time, like, oh, you won't sleep with me, I should just rape you. And then that's when the landlord decided to end our lease. He was like, I don't want him to be here. He's ridiculous. He has a whole bunch of traffic here, a whole bunch of new people. He was like, this is not the guy who I signed a lease with. He's a completely different person. I literally would not wish this on my worst enemy. I would not wish somebody witnessing someone who they've known for years go down with drugs and make the wrong decision and really hurt you and do wild, outlandish crap. It is the worst thing. It is the worst. It is a travesty, honestly. And it hurt. And it really, really changed him. He didn't care that he had kids that needed to eat. I remember he had other kids. He had 2 other kids, and I remember we got her, his daughter, and she was like, I was like, why haven't you been, trying to come over? Because I never had an issue. I always had a relationship with his kids. I used to always do his daughter's hair and, take the kids places, because that's just what type of person I am. I think that it takes a village to raise a kid, and I never treated his kids differently. They're awesome and amazing. So I knew something was up when I was like, well, why haven't you been calling? Your dad has been wanting to see you guys. She was like, we call him all the time. He doesn't answer the phone. I'd never known him to do anything like that. And so I started digging deeper, and I started finding straws, and I saw him one time he did a line in front of me, and then he ran off with his friends for like a few days. And I'm helpless at this point. I thought, because this was a nicer house. It was more money than what we were paying for anything else. Such a nice area. I didn't want to lose this place, so I kind of like suppressed everything and tried to figure things out by myself. So I was starting to get like some assistance with the house, and then I ended up getting some money, and it was $1,000. And he came over and he slept over for that night. My dumb ass let him come back, thinking that we're gonna be a family, and he stole everything out of my wallet. I didn't have money for diapers. My friend Tanisha had to bring over diapers in the middle of the night when it was raining, because he wouldn't answer his phone because he stole my money. And you process it, but you don't really process it. Like, it's messed up, but you don't really realize how messed up it is, because you're too busy trying to figure out how you're gonna get some diapers for your baby, or how are you gonna save the house that you so desperately don't want to move. He blew up the spot, meaning that the landlord didn't even want him there, and I couldn't afford it, so I ended up losing that place, going to a women's shelter, trying to get some type of like housing assistance, and there just wasn't. I couldn't do the women's shelter. It was weird. It was an invasion of my privacy. I just couldn't do it. I just could not do the women's shelter. I was at a women's shelter. I was at 2 different ones, actually. After I moved out of that place, I went to my mom's house for a month, and I was like, you know what, I gotta try to do this by myself. I'm gonna try to go to a domestic violence shelter. And I went to one for like a month, and they were not helping me at all. Like, I wasn't getting any type of help, so I felt like I was wasting time there. I moved back to my mom's house, got a really nice job, and yeah, I got a good job when I moved back to my mom's house. And wait, I'm messing up. I missed that. So after he got back out of jail, that last time I told you guys, everything was like so good. Like, we took a trip for me to go audition at The Voice, and then he went with me to get my breast implants. And he like nursed me, and like I really thought that he had turned over a new leaf, which is why we ended up finding that really nice house and really, really, really trying, giving it like, I guess not even like the last push. I was still so in love with him. I always forgave him, and I never was really holding on to any type of resentment. I just felt like he was finally growing up and like really not doing anything bad or going back to jail. But yeah, he went back to jail another time after that. After moving, after getting kicked out, he went back to jail again. And this time when he went back to jail, I went to my mom's house, and I told her, I'm done. He's not going to ever stop going back. He had gotten 2 DWIs 2 weeks within each other, back to back, endangering other people's lives, just reckless, doing it for no reason, right? Like, endangering other people's lives because he wanted to drive drunk. 2 weeks back to back. 2 weeks back to back in the same area. I mean, how much smarter can you get? So I was like, if I don't leave this man, I'm gonna be dealing with this for the rest of my life. And I've already wasted too much time. I already felt like a failure, always continuously starting over. And being in the domestic violence relationship, you don't want to tell anybody like, hey, I've been getting abused for so many years. This is why I'm at where I'm at in my life. I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying, but I can't get ahead because I got this man who keeps getting my cars taken, or this and that. He's abusing me, harassing me in the middle of the night, breaking my phones. I literally cannot get ahead. He won't watch the kids so I can go to work. Just whatever I'm trying to do, he is trying to defeat me or make me be stagnant. So like, once you gotta cut ties, you really gotta cut ties. So I ended up moving back to my mom's house for like 2-3 months. We ended up getting into another argument because that's how our relationship goes. And I ended up moving out, and I moved in with my guy friend who I'd known for a while. And the kid's dad was like, why are you living with that weirdo? Needless to say, sometimes people classify people as weirdos because they're quiet, or other people they don't mess with people. He was an introvert. Out of the kindness of his heart, he was just gonna let me and the kids stay with him for a few weeks till I found an apartment or a house. I was just looking for a house, and I just thought it was a toxic environment to stay at my mom, so I get the hell out of there again. And I went to live with him. So it was about a month that I was staying with him, and he was going to move to Vegas. Let me tell you a little bit. Let me tell you about God. Let me tell you about God, okay? Let's talk about God. We ain't talking about the universe. We're talking about God, okay? Well, sometimes what you need to do is let go. Sometimes what you do is need to let go and let flow and align. Even if something's going wrong, it's actually going right. Do you hear me? Yes. So I'm living with him, and then he comes to me and he's like, I'm done with Minnesota. I was like, yeah, I'm fucking done with Minnesota too. It's like every time I look back up, they don't want to hire me. Something, this is and that. The rent is way too high for it to be, Minnesota. It's just Minnesota. Why is everything so expensive? Nobody wants to live here. I don't want to go through another winter. So he decided he was going to move to Vegas, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to be moving here at the end of June, so you can stay here, blah blah blah, but you're probably going to have to find a place. I was like, okay, cool. Not even thinking like of anything else. And then his roommate, who he's going to move in with, bailed out at the last minute. I was like, I'll move to Vegas with you. I gotta get out of here. My kid's dad is gonna be out soon. He's gonna be trying to pull me back in. I gotta get out. I gotta try. I need more sunshine. I need a change of pace. I'm sick of living in this despair. He was like, okay, cool. I bought 3 one-way tickets, and I got the hell up out of Minnesota. I didn't tell the kid's dad where I was moving. And when he called in jail, I was lying and saying I was in Texas because I didn't trust him. He's abusive physically, mentally, psychologically. For me, and it's just like, how do you process it like that? You've been putting me and these kids through hell. You've been stealing from us. You've been verbally and physically abusing us. You're psychologically abusing my kids. You broke a window in front of our kids. You break my phones in front of the kids. You are a toxic human being, and it is not healthy to be around you or safe. It'd been like 2 weeks that I had talked to her since I moved out of her house, and then like when I found out that I really was going to move to Vegas, of course I told her, and she was like, do it. She was like, it's not working out for you here. You know what he's gonna be like when he gets back out, and I completely support you. Like, my mom, she didn't want me to move, but she never said don't move. She really encouraged me, and the last few weeks, she really helped me with the kids, and we spend some time together. Like, we go in and out, and I just realized that's our relationship. We're both Aries women. She's like Aries, like her rising sign, she's a straight up Aries. Like, she's an Aries for 2 of hers. Like, her moon sign and her rising is an Aries. I'm an Aries, Taurus, and a Virgo, so I'm a little bit more earth signs and like calm and like collected and like not so emotional, but she's like an emotional Aries. Everything literally does happen for a reason. You have to trust the reroute, as painful as it can be. I was hurt. I was so hurt. Like, moving into my mom's house, moving out of my mom's house to said friend's house with my kids, not having my kid's dad there to help her support, not having his family there to help and support, just always being a super strong person by myself. I just felt misunderstood. I felt abandoned, and I just was very lonely. I was very lonely, but I started developing super closer friendships with some of my other friends, and I had a counselor actually from this agency, because I moved out of the domestic violence place, but they still provided counselors, and we would just talk about things. And I always told her, like, hey, I just feel like I've missed out on so much. I've given my time up. I've wasted so much time with said baby dad that I don't feel like I can catch up or like ever really do what I want to do or I see myself doing. And moving to Vegas really just opened me up, like, hey, this hobby, this beauty blogging, this makeup artistry, this has literally been your rock. This is what keeps you sane. Booking with makeup clients, reviewing makeup, making makeup looks, that was my therapy, you guys, okay? So I always get a little bit emotional when people say like YouTube or makeup artistry or Instagram influencing is not real. It was my rock. If I didn't have that to look forward to, like, oh, I could be a big influencer one day, I have a lot to offer and give back to girls. Not only do I know my ish, but I am a good person and I have a lot of life experience to be able to offer to people. Me not having the dream, I could have ended up like a crack hoe. Like, seriously. I could have had that much stress built up in my life and not having anyone just depending on me. That is a mental drain. To have 2 children a year apart, 2 under 2 sometimes, and just to have the dream to hold on to. Holding on to that dream and just knowing like, hey, I can overcome anything. I've overcame this much mentally, and hey, I get a second chance moving to Vegas really opened me up for a lot of things. I've always felt like I've always had things a little bit slower because I don't have the same type of support system. So, you know, like moving out here, I didn't have any family. I didn't have anyone. Like I had to juggle filming with my kids and doing all that, taking them to school without a car. Like it was a struggle. There's no welfare or anything out here. You really have to hit the ground running. So it was either sink or swim coming out here. So I never really had the time to really think like, hey, I really am traumatized. There's some trauma that I need to deal with. At that time, I was just so focused on getting, in doing my makeup artistry, because I did have a makeup studio at the new apartment. That's how I was making my money, makeup full time. I didn't have time to really sit down and think about my emotions. I didn't. I was just going. And then I ended up getting a full-time job. And then my social media started picking up, not as fast as I wanted to or whatever. You know, everything happens with a reason. And in this season, that's why I'm coming on here to talk about it, not only because it's Domestic Violence Month. I've just been really, really hard on myself these past 3 weeks. Like, I can't catch the algorithm on YouTube for some reason. The algorithm, I feel like, doesn't catch. I'm super consistent, not only with like, I don't upload like every day, but I have been consistent, and I'm consistent on YouTube, and I'm consistent on Instagram. I'm just not seeing the numbers. I don't feel like I'm reaching the people that I should be reaching, and I just have kind of been in a little bit of a funk the last week. You know, not when you don't get those numbers and you put in all of this work. It's hard because I'm homeschooling as well. So the kids are here, I'm in my workspace, the kids are in my workspace. It's a lot, and I'm still pressing through. I'm still getting content out, and it's not being received. It's really disheartening. And you know, you look over here and you look over there, everybody else has gotten their success despite 2020, but then here I am like at a plateau, and it's just like, damn, what do I have to do? I know I have the looks, I have the gear, I have the equipment. Why am I not breaking through? So I was like in a funk for about a week, just depressed. And then you wake up one day and you look at a memory on Facebook, it's like, dang, I used to really be worried and scared for my life. I used to really be getting kicked out of places for my kid's dad. I used to be verbally abused every single day, not eating, losing weight, like drinking, and not being safe. And now the only thing I can cry about is not getting views on YouTube. You know, back in the day, I had to pawn my camera to be able to give food for my kids, you know? So everything has its season. So, you know, I'm gonna keep trying with YouTube because I know that this is for me. It's not so much about the destination, but it's always about figuring out who you are, growing, helping other people, and being a light. So even in the midst of the storm that I'm in right now, with not seeing the growth and witnessing everybody else do such a spectacular job, it's inspiring, but it also can be disheartening, because it's like, do you stop or do you keep pushing through? YouTube is not for the faint at heart at all. You know, you either catch the algorithm or you don't. It's all within divine timing. Even when I'm feeling like things aren't going right, this is going to make me, because I'm not going to quit. I know eventually that I'm going to make it. And just looking back at all the crap that I went through, it's like, how could you not make it? You never stop. You never stop. You're a fighter. You're supposed to be a statistic. I shouldn't be in sunny Las Vegas right now, living in my own house. My kids shouldn't have their own rooms. I shouldn't have a nice foreign vehicle. I never quit. I never stopped. I always believed in myself, no matter what was being told to me, no matter what situation that I was in. I knew, like, hey, you got to keep going, not only for the kids and myself, but because I'm supposed to be helping other people. I really am. Is to never give up on yourself. Know your why. Always go back to your why, no matter what is going on. And I mean, it could be going wrong. It could be going so wrong. I've had so many good things go so wrong so many times. It's a miracle that, like, I'm alive, first of all, or sane, or I don't drink or smoke or try to numb my pain. Just, I don't really know. I feel like I've broke a lot of generational curses by me just being who I am. My grandmother was in an abusive relationship. My great-grandmother was in an abusive relationship. My great-great-great-grandmother was in an abusive relationship, and so was my mother. So me ending the cycle and showing my daughter, hey, you get the hell out when you see these red signs. You look for a man with a good credit score, financial security. You really study his family and how he was brought up. Me ending those cycles is breaking generational curses. So I'm not a, oh my God, woe is me person. It's like, damn, I had to go through that for the rest of my lineage, and I'll take that L. I'll take that L. It might take me a little bit longer to get to the wealth, but I sure as hell am going to get to it. Every single step of the way, every single block is meant for something. You need to know when to leave. You know what I mean? If I would have left earlier, I don't know which way my life could have gone. You know, it's just some of those things you have to listen to your intuition. And sometimes it could be really, 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 really silent. Really silent, but just those random occurrences and those drops, that's divine intervention of the universe or God or whatever higher being that you believe in. You have not been forgotten. You have not been forgotten. You are here for a reason, and every season serves its purpose and is not forever. So with that being said, I hope that we are a little bit closer. I hope you guys know I have been through hell and back. I have been broke. I've had money, and I'm still grinding, and I'm setting my goals, and I know that I'm not a failure. Everything that I go through, every experience that I've had, I've been able to talk to someone and help other people. Seriously, if I didn't go through it, how was I going to teach my daughter or my little sister that, hey, you don't do this, you don't go through this, these are the red signs, these are the type of things you look for, and man, this is the thing that you journal and you really manifest on, and you build yourself up to be the woman that you are. Don't jump headfirst into things like I did looking for love. So, you know, time kills and heals pain. You have to do your inner work in your own healing as well, no matter how hard that hurts. So that is me opening up. Please be gentle. I'm working through the trauma and the pain, and I've gotten better, but it still, you know, flares up at times. My daughter looks exactly like her dad. My kids have characteristics like their dad that you would never even think, so I am reminded of that said person daily. But at the end of the day, I have two beautiful children that I take care of, that were a blessing, that I rescued and got out of a toxic situation, and they have a chance in this life. So that is my story, you guys, and my story is still being written. I'm still only at 4,500 subscribers. I hope to see you all here with me when I hit 50K, when I hit 100K, when I hit 150K, because I'm not going to stop. Everything has a season, and I just want to thank those of you who really do rock with me. Who really do rock with me. You know, everybody has a hard story, but you know, to be able to break through that and to help other people, or let you guys watch my videos, clearly you like me for some reason. But thank you for watching. Be gentle. Feel free to leave any kind of feedback, not negative. You will be blocked. I don't have time for that. But other than that, guys, thank you for listening, and I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you here in my next video.